Wonderful. We are back with the second chapter, the general principles of wise interventions. By now you might have realized that underneath there is no slow internet connection anymore. I have, it seems like, a window of good internet connection. And you can see here scrolling down are the subtitles. So we are back in business. All right. Talking about back in business. By now you should kind of have a feeling for what wise interventions are trying to do. They're trying to change the meaning people attach to themselves and the interactions they have with other people and the context. And let me try to illustrate the general principles that are postulated to why wise interventions are working so well by using a personal example of my past life. So when I was at your age, I was dating a person, a woman, same age as you, and she had very low self-esteem. She was a wonderful person, but somehow didn't believe that she was a wonderful person. And in particular, she often felt that my friends and our bigger social circle basically didn't like her. The only reason she thought why she's invited, why people want to spend time with her is because they are my friends, and that's why they are treating her nicely. She could never really believe that it was actually her that people were interested in, and not because she was attached to me. And I think this is a very typical of what Swan so nicely described in his self-verification theory, that people in general are trying to confirm the concept they have about their world. They're trying to find information that confirms, verifies whatever they think of themselves. So most of us think that we are pretty excellent. Obviously not me, but most of you guys think you're fantastic, you're outstanding, and rightfully so. And now you create an environment that gives you that kind of feedback, and you seek that kind of feedback. However, if you are low on self-esteem or you're suffering from depression, then what you do is you actually actively try to validate this idea that you are not a person of the same worth as everyone else. You're trying to validate and verify your low self-esteem. And that creates often a very difficult pattern in couples in particular, because here often one of the person with the low self-esteem or the person with the high depressive symptoms creates an environment that kind of makes it hard for the partner to show that they actually care about them. They often feel like the depressed person often feels like you just have to say that to be nice. You can't say the truth. And so they're trying to create difficult situations in which the partner then kind of snaps and says something. And it's like, I told you, see, you never really liked me. So this is kind of like the toxic environment low self-esteem couples often find themselves in. So how can we change that, right? So we want to change the meaning. One of the key principles is to be specific. And here you have two examples of the opposite, right? You can't go and say, hey, you know what, Andrea's ex-girlfriend, why don't you think a little bit more positive about yourself? Why don't you believe in yourself and believe that other people like you because you are wonderful and not just because you're Andrea's girlfriend? Okay, how could we say that, right? And I think often people who have very little understanding of psychology tell people who are depressed to just kind of cheer up. And sometimes I get emails from the university about COVID, and it's like, oh, you might feel this is a terrible situation, but try to look on the good side. Try to reframe things in a positive way. And it just doesn't work. And the opposite is true for wise intervention. If we do a wise intervention, we're trying to be specific. I always say we're trying to be a sniper. We take one target and that's what we're attacking, okay? A lot of the emails I get from you guys with ideas about your interventions, the first thing, and some of you I hope might recognize that, is like, okay, what specifically do you want to address? What is the specific cause you're looking at? What is the specific meaning you want to change? So be specific is not only important for wise interventions in general, but also for your intervention that you're developing in particular. So how could this work in this case here? So here's an example that Marigold and colleagues used, where they had this problem that the low self-esteem partner not really believed that the other person appreciates them as the person, as a wonderful partner. So they ask, in one condition, they asked the low self-esteem partner to recall a compliment and then say, why does that explain why your partner admires you, describe what it meant to you and its significance for your relationship. So now people have to they're almost forced to do what they we basically force them to do to unearth the meaning we want them to believe, right? Instead of telling them, doesn't that mean that that partner loves you? It's just like, why do you think does that show that your partner loves you? Why is this so significant that he said this in that situation? Okay. And what you can see is that this has a dramatically positive impact on the relationship quality and the survival chances for that relationship. So giving that specific kind of meaning generating intervention helped the low self-esteem partner to change the meaning from he just had to say that, kind of the automatic, impulsive response that the partner had to, oh, I see, I kind of invest the resources, I change the meaning, and I see the true meaning behind the compliment. And thereby, I can allow myself to appreciate my partner as well. And this is really good for the relationship. A quality which then kind of leads to a kind of like a circle, a virtuous circle. This virtual circle is something that is another key principle. So be specific. The other one is this virtual circle. Here you see an odd piece of drawing from me, and I will reveal in a moment, and you will see it will all make sense. And it's not just that I forgot to animate that piece on my slide. Okay, back to the program. So this is the second principle, that we are trying to create this kind of, we're trying to break a vicious cycle and trying to create a virtuous cycle of self-reinforcing behavior by changing the meaning. So here's, for instance, a classic example I could have taken from my past. Me and my ex-girlfriend, we went to a party, we would go there, we would have fun, or at least I would have fun often, and she wouldn't have fun. And then somebody would go over and it seems like you're not really liking it. Why are you here? Maybe you should just go home. Isn't it fine? Maybe I would say, hey, if you don't like it here, I'm having fun. Maybe you could go home. So my ex-girlfriend would say like, you see, I told you nobody likes me here, or you even don't want to have me here, which was really bad for our relationship, right? There was a lot of tension then, and it kind of then, whenever we met our friends again, would reinforce this pattern. She would seek out more and more a behavior in my friends and in me that indicates to her that she was not truly accepted by us. And we could not break that cycle, and so at some point we broke up. What you would try to do, right, is to find a different interpretation. So you would go to the party and you would have go there, and maybe your girlfriend or my ex-girlfriend doesn't really have a lot of fun there, and so but now she sees it differently. She sees somebody coming over to her and is like, hey, it seems like you're not having fun. Shall we do something different? Do you want to leave? Do we something else? As a caring indicator, right? Why could this be an indicator that people care about you and your well-being, and thereby we change the meaning, and she feels like, oh, your friends really like me, your friends are wonderful, hence this is good for our relationship, and we might have stayed together. So this is kind of like what you're trying to do. You're trying to replace a vicious cycle with a virtuous cycle, and then have the self-reinforcing pattern of behavior, and thereby hopefully this kind of short intervention helps to have long-lasting effects on here in this case on the relationship, but also on like on other fields of behavior as well, or like on other intervention targets as well, right? There are two things I just want to quickly keep you reminding you. Let's say the situation doesn't really allow for a positive, meaningful interpretation. Let's say you are the only person from a specific group in a school and everybody is racist and hostile towards you, then there is no real way to change this meaning, right? So if the opportunities are there, all is good. But if the crowd really hates you, then just simply changing the behavior is not enough. Okay, it's important to also think about this the other way around, to say like, okay, but if we change the situation, if we kind of improve our behavior, it's often not enough. It's also important to think about with situational changes to change the way people see perceive the situation. So this is important, right? If the situation sucks truly, it's not easy to, I think changing the meaning of that is attached to it is not a good idea. So first you would have changed and improved the situation. The other one is that you have to try to change the behavior in a way that is meaningful, right? Think about back the intervention we saw about these depressive couples where they said like, oh, can you generate the meaning that we want you to believe in? If we just told them, isn't that compliment a sign that the person really cares about you? Come on, just accept that. That doesn't work, right? We have to think about how we can use authentic techniques for the people who are part of our intervention to generate their own meaning, or at least guide their meaning behavior. We will talk in the fourth episode or in the fourth chapter today about techniques. Now we will talk about 3 different types of motivations in the next chapter that we can utilize for creating such meaning change.